If you work a 9 to 5 in the UK, this budget is a much bigger deal than the headlines make it look, because behind all the noise and political drama, there are changes that will quietly take more from your paycheck, increase how much it costs to drive, and make it harder to use some of the smarter tax tricks that people have relied on for years. Most people will skim a few headlines and move on. In this video, I want to show you exactly how the Autumn Budget 2025 hits your day-to-day life and what you can realistically do about it. And just a quick reminder before we get into it, this is not financial advice. It's just my opinion based on what's been announced. So please do your own research or speak to a professional before making big money decisions. So let's set the scene. This budget has already gone down as one of the most chaotic in recent history. About 40 minutes before the Chancellor even stood up to speak, the Office for Budget Responsibility, the government's own watchdog, accidentally uploaded its full report online and leaked the whole thing early. That's basically never happened before. So by the time Rachel Reeves actually opened the famous red box, MPs were already scrolling through the details on their phones. The markets had started reacting and the big reveal was kind of ruined. But honestly, the drama doesn't matter to you as much as the content. Here's the core of what you need to know simplified. Income tax thresholds, frozen again, now until 2031, which means more people will quietly get dragged into higher tax bands as wages rise. Dividends and investment income, tax rates are going up for these, especially from April 2026, hitting investors and small business owners who pay themselves in dividends. Energy bills. Average household bills are expected to fall around £150 a year from April 2026 by moving some costs into general taxation and scrapping parts of existing schemes. EV drivers. From 2028, most electric cars will pay a 3p per mile road tax, which is brand new, with plug-in hybrids at 1.5p per mile. Pensions and salary sacrifice. From April 2029, the national insurance perk on salary sacrifice pensions will be capped at £2,000, with national insurance due on anything above that. And finally, benefits and welfare. Some benefits are going up, and the two-child limit has been scrapped. But overall living standards are still only expected to crawl up over this parliament. So that's the big picture. Now let's talk about what this actually means for you. Let's start with the bit that everyone feels first, your income. If you're working a 9 to 5, the government hasn't raised the actual tax rates on income, but they've frozen the thresholds until 2031. That's what people mean when they talk about stealth taxes or fiscal drag. So here's what that actually means in real life. As your salary goes up over the next few years, maybe from promotions, inflation, pay rises, or switching jobs, the band at which you start paying 20%, 40% or 45% tax does not move. So more of your income slowly creeps into those higher bands. You feel like you're earning more on paper, but your take-home pay doesn't move as much as you'd expect. That's why so many people say things like, I got a pay rise, why do I still feel broke? It's not just in your head. The system is literally designed right now so that a chunk of your progress is quietly taken away. If you're someone who's roughly middle income, this is a massive deal over the next 5 or 6 years. You don't suddenly get hit overnight. It just slowly erodes how much better off you feel. Now, what if you're on a lower income or you rely on benefits? There are some changes that sound positive on the surface. Certain benefits are being uprated. The two-child limit benefit cap has been scrapped, which campaigners say will pull hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. Energy bills are expected to drop by £150 a year from April 2026. But the uncomfortable reality is this. Inflation, even if it's slowing, has already done a lot of damage. Forecasts suggest living standards only improve very slightly over the parliament, something like a fraction of a percentage overall. So yes, you might see a bit more breathing room here and there, but for many people, especially on low incomes, it still feels like you're running just to stay in the same place. You're not suddenly leaping ahead, you're just not sinking quite as fast. Now, if you run your own limited company, get paid in dividends, or you've started investing outside an ISA, this budget directly targets you. The key points to remember are from April 2026, the basic and higher rates of dividend tax are being increased by 2 percentage points. That means more tax on money you take out of a company in dividends or on investments held in normal taxable accounts. There are also changes to tax on savings interest and rental income, which affect people with larger portfolios. If you've been casually investing in a general trading account because it was easier than opening an ISA, this is the moment where the laziness starts to cost you real money. And if you're a small company director paying yourself a low salary and topping up with dividends, you really need to rerun the maths on whether that's still the most efficient way to do it going forward. This doesn't mean don't invest or don't run a business. It just means you can't ignore the tax wrappers anymore. Strategy matters more here. Let's talk about driving, especially if you own an electric vehicle or you were thinking of getting one. Because from 2028, the government is bringing in a pay per mile road tax for EVs and plug-in hybrids, around 3p per mile for fully electric vehicles and around 1.5p per mile for plug-in hybrids. On its own, 3p doesn't sound like a lot, but if you drive, say, around 8 to 10,000 miles a year, that's roughly £240 to £300 a year, just in this new tax on top of your electricity costs. For people in cities who don't drive much, it might be annoying but manageable. But what about for people in rural areas who drive every day just to go to work, shop, or see family? It's another fixed cost on top of everything else. Electric cars will probably still be cheaper to run than petrol or diesel overall, especially if you can charge at home on cheaper tariffs. But the gap just narrowed, and that's the point. Now on to the biggest long-term hits: pensions and salary sacrifice. Right now, salary sacrifice lets you give up some of your salary and get it paid into your pension instead. The big advantage here is you don't pay national insurance on that chunk, and your employer doesn't either. It's been one of the most efficient legal ways to boost your retirement pot. From April 2029, that perk is being capped. You'll only get national insurance relief on the first £2,000 a year that you salary sacrifice into your pension. Anything sacrificed above this will still get income tax relief, but you and your employer will pay national insurance on it again. For a lot of basic rate taxpayers who aren't sacrificing huge amounts, this might not change much. The government's own documents say many people won't hit that £2,000 cap. But if you're a high earner sacrificing a big chunk of pay, or someone whose employer has been really generous with their scheme, you could see lower take-home pay than you're expected in the future, or employers could quietly dial down how much extra they're willing to contribute. It doesn't kill pensions. They're still powerful, still tax efficient, and still worth using. But it nerfs one of the best hacks we've had for building retirement wealth in a smart way. Let's shift from doom scrolling into action mode. I want to break down this into 3 buckets. And the first is protecting your cash flow over the next 12 months. First job is always survival and stability. So review your direct debits and standing orders this week. Go through your bank app line by line, cancel subscriptions you don't use, downgrade where you can, and call out lifestyle creep. Every £20 or £30 a month you claw back is money that can go towards your buffer or debt. Build or top up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I know it's not sexy, but in a world of frozen thresholds and higher costs, having a buffer is what stops you panicking when something breaks or you lose some income. Use any extra support wisely. If you're one of the households that sees a bit of help from lower energy bills or benefit changes, treat that as a chance to repair your balance sheet, pay down high interest debt or boost savings rather than just upgrading lifestyle stuff straight away. Think of this phase as, how do I make sure future budget changes hit me in the face less? The second is optimize for tax where you actually can, because you need to remember you can't control what the Chancellor does, but you can control how much you let the system drag you. A few practical moves. Use your ISAs properly. With dividend and saving tax going up, it matters more than ever to park as much as possible into stocks and shares ISAs or cash ISAs within the new limits, rather than just random taxable accounts. Check your pension situation now, not in 2029. Look at how much you're currently contributing, what your employer matches, whether salary sacrifice is available. You might decide to push it a bit harder before the new cap kicks in, especially if your employer is generous, because the current national insurance advantages are better than what's coming. If you run a small company, speak to an accountant about the new dividend rates. Whether you pay mixed salary versus dividends still makes sense. Whether you should be using pensions or ISAs differently going forward. The mindset here is if they're going to change the rules, I'm at least going to play the game as intelligently as possible. And the third is around the long-term moves that you need to do over the 5 to 10 year period. Let's zoom out of this. With tax thresholds frozen, new levies on assets and income, and pretty weak growth forecasts, the default path for a lot of people looks like this. Stay in the same 9 to 5. Slowly pay more tax over time. Feel like you're grinding but not really moving forward. So what can you do to fight that? A few ideas are build extra income streams. This doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow, but it does mean that you could have the opportunity to freelance on the side, selling a skill online, maybe starting a small side business that might become something bigger one day. Also, invest consistently in simple diversified funds. Don't get the hype around meme stocks or whatever latest penny stock craze there is. Just regular contributions into broad funds inside an ISA or pension, month after month. Over a 5 to 10 year period, that consistency plus compounding matters more than trying to be clever. Use the budget as a wake-up call, not a reason to give up. I've been in the place before where I wasn't doing any of this. No serious saving, no proper investing, no plan at all. And it absolutely hurt me later on. Now I put my money away every single month. I use the tax wrappers available and I let those assets quietly work in the background for me. You can't stop the government from changing the rules, but you can build a life where you're less fragile to it. So I want to go over the big takeaway from this autumn budget. It isn't panic or it's all pointless. Budgets come and go. Chancellors change. The speech gets made, everyone argues about it for a few days, and then the news cycle moves on. But the pattern is the same. If you don't understand the rules, you get squeezed. If you do understand them, you can quietly build your way out, even in a high-tax, high-cost environment. Some of these changes in the budget don't even kick in for years. Some might get tweaked or reversed by future governments. So this video isn't about fear. It's about giving you the information I wish I had years ago, so you don't stay stuck and confused. If you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. It genuinely helps me reach more people who feel stuck in the same system. And let me know in the comments, what's the one change from the autumn budget that hits you the hardest? And what are you going to do about it? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.